Chili here with Sirius Telus Moon, and this is Mercury, our soul day. Mercury is 9 degrees Cancer, the moon is 6 degrees Pisces, just crossed Rahu, Venus, Jupiter. Venus 23 degrees Cancer, Jupiter 25 degrees Cancer. Venus and Jupiter are going to conjoin together in sign of Jupiter's exaltation. They are going to square Eris and Chiron. Why am I saying that? And they're going to apply, well, not really sextiles Uranus anymore. And it's a very big benefic, and it is attempting to perhaps remediate the challenges of bringing Venus and Jupiter together. Venus is union, Jupiter is expansion. Venus is bringing things together, Jupiter is the state of cohesion. Jupiter is belief, Venus is values. For example, the belief that somebody manifests sexual violence is wrong from the core. And here is why we have difficulty with Venus and Jupiter coming together. Because Jupiter is about choice and belief. Venus is values and union of values. And they're all in the sign of the moon, which is a reflective sign, a growth sign, an embryo sign. Squaring Chiron and Aries, it's also tending to the orgasmic birthing and versus breeding farms or infant smuggling, baby trafficking. So I know a lot of my colleagues promote this as the best week of 2026, and E equals MC in the power of 2. So relatively, they could be absolutely correct. But we need to take aspects into account, and that aspect in Aries is a big deal. One of the things that happen in the astrological community, and that could be Pluto doing the back and forth in the first decan of Aquarius. I was just looking at Helena from astrocartography. Her student, fascinating story. She had a student, took her certification program. Then she had an offer to an affiliate. She says, okay, then one sudden day, that very student sends her a cease and desist from using the term astrocartography. Now, other than the intelligence issue and the fact that whoever was that student, she named the student, I don't remember the name, but whoever was that student basically branded herself with all the human trafficking that went using astrocartography, because there are many people that are now needing reparations. Okay, astrology, as many of the science and occultistic sciences, are in use by intelligences. This was to begin with the issue regarding the certification programs. Now, It can be for Helena. She said she was smear campaign and said it can absolutely be if she wasn't working with the government or wasn't trained by the government. It can absolutely be what's behind that. This is why before I named certain names, I was addressing it to the people. I was using, let's say, the very products to negate, let's say, MK Ultra, negate trafficking. Always crediting others for their ideas and so on and so forth. And when Pluto, before the ingress of Pluto to Aquarius, it was back when Saturn was in Pisces, in tropical Pisces, with Neptune. Back to the ingress of Saturn to Pisces, and the prediction was attempt to regulate also astrology. And now we see the oscillation between forcing people to go through certification processes to be called astrologer, to be making money, and trademarking astrocartography, which is like a genius move. I don't know how they convinced that French lady to do that move, because she basically branded herself as MK Ultra. When I don't study astrology for certification, I can negate MK Ultra. It doesn't mean that I cannot do a certificate. As long as I don't have to do a certificate, it means that I don't have to do certain things to be called astrologer. And that means that I can work against the breeding farms and the cloning project using astrology. Yeah, I can do the corruption remediation, which would also be the astrological charity or remediation to tend to these things prior to leveling up in an astrology business. So there was the movement towards building certification programs as a must, as a prerequisite to be called astrologer. And then there was the marketing move of trademarking astrology. It was trademarking astrocartography, but for the record, it could downright be trademarking astrology. And so Lena is absolutely correct. It's like somebody would trademark astrology. They trademarked the entire medicine. Standard Oil did that in the Neptune-Pluto conjunction. They put petroleum in the medicines. And it began with people trying to regulate the field of certifications without addressing the organized crime issues. Here is where I took the road less taken, but again, I have 2 points of Thales. Here I have Jupiter and the Moon, 2 points of Thales that were that are to do with alleviating corruption. So it was both warning the community that such a thing can happen, and trying to remediate and addressing the certain things, and addressing with the issues with the prison system once the things were being, let's say, put to question. So it's not about putting people in jail and like I said before, the 30 million files of the dossiers of Epstein came out. They were putting they found pedophilia materia in the cell phone of Marc Dutroux in a maximum prison jail. Okay, so like somebody put it there. So before I talk about exposing Peter rings, I also tend to the venues of recovery, the core issues. Now, right now Saturn is squaring my 2 points of Thales. And this is where how should I say that? Having astrocartography as a patent, even though the term was coined previously but this is the extreme oscillation from unacknowledged, unregulated field to a brand name. This happened to the medicine throughout the 20th century. It still does. If I would ask Professor Danny Filk, my instructor at when I was writing my thesis proposal, was working on my thesis, the Bonneman question in the medicine, he inspired me to do to take the field of medicine by we were talking about philosophy of science, and I was saying, Feyerabend, it said, when I read Feyerabend, and there's a misunderstanding of the anything goes by Feyerabend, it says, when I read Feyerabend, I don't know how to treat a patient. And I said, let's help Professor Phil how to treat a patient. And he introduced me to late Larry Loudon and the role of technology in. Now, what happens when the technology is classified? So it is very possible that in some circles I'm considered a missing scientist. So when I was looking into the medicine, so holistic medicine, the modern medicine, the technologization of the medicine, which is now happening in astrology. Okay, we have AI astrology, and that is expanding the things that we can do with astrology. For example, I can open a chart. I don't have to calculate every single point of the day to give you a reading of the current planets. Wasn't possible just 2 centuries ago. Not this century, it became possible for the common person if they look into astrology. It would be considered advanced technologies and or prejudice in other circles. Now, the remediation for the trademark of astrology, or the trademarking of, now it's astrocartography, tomorrow it's going to be the entire field, is tending to 444 as I speak. At the core issue of this, when I talk about name, sense of self, branding, is the cease and desist to the practice of occultistic rapes. Do I have to trademark ritual abuse to maybe I will trademark ritual abuse and send the cease and desist. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now, of course, when people are not well trained with astrology, they also do a lot of things that can be causing harm to themselves usually. But it is less of a life and death issue when we tend to the core challenges, which are the breeding farms, the um, enslavement of people, the belief that people, how should I say that? The belief that the people's no is not okay. There were manifesting paradigms that said, oh, the universe doesn't understand. No, not at all. They all stem from people that learn from people that learn from people that learn from people. And I'm all for focusing on what we do want, that were trying to control the population. Chiron in itself is a planet to oppose Pluto. Lilith is almost done with the 18th degree. And yeah, that's a part of the things that are happening in the sky right now.